Hey, deserved listeners, today's episode is a special episode in which we will review the data that we know so far in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, even things ahead of the timeline where I'm at right now in my reaction videos, because a lot of people have told me what is to come, and I've seen reports. And we're going to look at some research regarding the degree at which these allegations are. Is it minor abuse or is it severe abuse? And we're going to look at physical abuse, psychological aggression, and sexual coercion. So let's do that right now. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and professor. This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast, and this is a study by Javier Fernandez-Montalvo and colleagues, published in 2020 in the American Journal of Drug and Alcohol Abuse. So this journal is mainly about drug and alcohol abuse, but they also were looking at bidirectional intimate partner violence, because in a lot of couples where one or both people are suffering from drug abuse problems, there's a high rate of bidirectional intimate partner violence, meaning that both people are abusing each other. Why that would be, we could hypothesize, but there you go. Well, why would that be? I would guess that it's multifactorial, and there's not necessarily causation here. But if you are on substances frequently, your mood is going to go up and down. Your behavioral controls are going to go up and down. Your prefrontal cortex will come online off and on, such that you will have outbursts. Anyone who had an alcoholic member of a family that they grew up in, like a parent, that individual can lose control of their anger. Not always, but often. And then when you saw them when they were sober, they didn't do that kind of behavior, or they were much less likely to. It's because alcohol and other substances make it so that our brains don't work quite right, our emotional regulation is off, our behavioral controls are off, our ability to even perceive what's happening is off, and thus people are more likely to be triggered, and also our trauma is more likely to come up. So that's one. So that's a causation route in terms of the substance use causes, or is a major factor in elevating the risk for intimate partner violence from one or both individuals. The other is that when we are traumatized growing up, it leads to both the likelihood of being violent and aggressive with our partners, and use substances and alcohol to numb our pain and get through the day. So it's correlated, but not a causal, if that makes any sense. Okay, so let's look at what we have heard in terms of the allegations between the two of them, and go over these items provided by the researchers here. And by the way, trigger warning, obviously, we're going to go over some pretty specific acts. I'm not going to go into graphic detail, I don't think, but you should know that if you can be triggered by this sort of information, you should not be listening to this episode. You should be talking with your therapist, healing, and then, when things are safe, you can come back. So they sampled 122 patients who sought treatment in an addiction treatment center and collected cross-sectional self-reported data on violent behaviors, socio-demographic factors, distorted thoughts about women in violence, impulsiveness, and anger. 91% of the participants reported experience of IPV, intimate partner violence, any type and any direction, meaning that 91% of people who came in for treatment in addiction, 91% of the participants reported that one or both of the people in the relationship were abusive. Either the person seeking treatment claimed to be a victim or a perpetrator, or that there was bidirectional violence happening. 63% of the participants reported bidirectional violence. So that's interesting. From the beginning, I've been talking about how research shows that there is this thing called mutual abuse or bidirectional. Now, the category of bidirectional violence doesn't necessarily include mutual abuse. It includes violence going both ways, but that violence could be defensive. So some of you might say 122 participants, that's not a large sample. And yeah, you're kind of right. But I often find that when I present studies in psychology, people only want to hear about studies that involve like thousands of participants. And meta studies will show that you don't need that many people. Your N doesn't need to be that high. It's obviously better if it is, but it's not a sure indication of a complete invalid result when you have 122 people. So just keep that in mind. And the results of this study are pretty consistent with other studies. So I just want to say that as well. All right. So getting back to the instrument that they administered to these people coming in for treatment with substance abuse, there's a lot of items, and it says, how have you done this or not in your current relationship? And among the minor physical assault, I'll just read all of them in terms of minor physical assault. We have, I pushed or shoved my partner. Okay, push and shove. That makes sense. Minor physical assault. Depending. I mean, if you push someone downstairs, it's going to be different. But I grabbed my partner. I slapped my partner. Okay. It depends on what we mean by slap. I threw something at my partner that could hurt. Again, that could be severe, depending. I twisted my partner's arm or hair. So this sounds pretty awful, right? But let's read the severe. And then we'll talk about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I punched or hit my partner with something that could hurt. I punched or hit my partner. So I punched my partner or I hit my partner with something that could hurt them. I slammed my partner against a wall. I kicked my partner. I choked my partner. I used a knife or gun on my partner. I beat up my partner. So that's a catch-all, like I struck them multiple times in one episode. I burned or scalded my partner or on purpose. All right, so before we go into Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, let's look at the percentage of participants who indicated that they have done this behavior. And when they break it out by men and women, and again, they almost never in these sorts of studies include trans people or non-binary individuals, so I apologize on behalf of the psychology community for that. And among the participants on this study, women were much more likely to be abusive and violent and psychologically aggressive and even sexually coercive to some extent. They were more likely to do all these things more than men, which is not reflective of the vast majority of research indicating that men are much more likely to do this. But anyway, so just keep that in mind. But I'm just going to give the total percentage, regardless of gender, how many people said that they did this sort of thing. So I pushed or shoved my partner was 34%. I grabbed my partner, 27%. I slapped my partner, 21%. I threw something at by the way, what they always report on 19.7. What's the difference between 19.7 and 19.5? Like, it doesn't mean anything to me anyway. So I'm actually rounding to the nearest whole integer. So again, I pushed or shoved my partner, 34%. I grabbed my partner, 27%. I slapped my partner, 21%. I threw something at my partner that could hurt, 20%. I twisted my partner's arm. Perpetration of any minor physical assault was 41%. So 41% of the people coming into the treatment center had reported perpetration of any of the above. All right, so let's look at Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I pushed or shoved my partner. At least Johnny Depp talked about shoving her or pushing her, or Amber Heard claimed he did. Do we believe that Amber Heard also pushed or shoved him? Yeah, I mean, you could consider the time when she was pushing on the door. Okay, so they both did that. I grabbed my partner. That seemed much more of a Johnny Depp thing to do. One could claim he was trying to restrain her from being violent with him, but I'm sure there were times when that wasn't necessary. Amber Heard has alleged that he would grab even her friend's wrist and twist it. So at least Johnny Depp did that. We don't know if Amber Heard grabbed him ever. I slapped my partner. Have either of them talked about slapping each other? I don't remember anything about slapping. Remember things about punching. I threw something at my partner that could hurt. Yeah. So it's interesting that this one is considered minor because, of course, the alleged worst moment of abuse from Amber was when she threw something that could hurt him because it blasted hit the end of his finger off. So I don't know if we want to necessarily consider that a minor assault. I think what they're mainly talking about is like throwing a book or a phone or plate at someone. I mean, you could possibly kill someone in a situation like that. So, it's a pretty broad category. But yeah, there are plenty of reports of her throwing things at him. Have we had any reports of him throwing things at her? I don't know, maybe. I twisted my partner's arm or hair. There's an allegation from Amber Heard that he twisted and pulled her hair. I don't think we heard any allegation from Johnny Depp around that. All right. So let's talk about severe. In conclusion about the minor physical assault, there's many indications of minor physical assaults from both of them. And part of the reason why I want to present this research is just to give you one set of researchers' ideas of the difference between minor and severe on all the domains of different types of aggression towards one partner, because I think it's educational, and also I think it helps for us when we're thinking about this couple, like how severe are they? And of course, there's no measure, there's no index of that, but you can get a sense of how severe it is. I punched my partner or I hit my partner with something that could hurt. Yes, so there's a lot of allegations of her punching him multiple times, and witnesses, at least one, that saw her punch him. And there's allegations from her that he punched her. Yeah. And I guess we would categorize the throwing of the vodka bottle as I hit my partner with something that could hurt. I mean, how does that differ from I threw something at my partner that could hurt? Oh, I hit my partner with something that could hurt. So I think this study is presuming that if you throw something, it's not likely to be as damaging as if you hit someone, right? If you throw a vodka bottle at someone, it's not going to be as damaging as if you hit them with the vodka bottle, which, I don't think is true in this case. But that's a weird behavior to throw two vodka bottles at someone and then to actually hit them with it. I slammed my partner against the wall. I think there were allegations from Amber Heard that he did that to her. At least he slammed her against the floor, allegedly. I kicked my partner. I think Amber Heard claims that he kicked her. Yes. I choked my partner. I think she claims that he choked her. I used a knife or gun on my partner. Of course, if there was a gun, I'm sure we would have heard of it. And if there was a threat with a knife, we would have heard of it. I don't think we've heard that. I beat up my partner. Amber Heard has alleged that he did what I would call beat up, that he pinned her down and punched her repeatedly in the face. And Johnny Depp would also, I don't know what you would call beat up, because I get the impression that her ability to inflict damage via punching, I don't think was nearly at the level of what Johnny Depp could do, which would be consistent, gender-wise. Of course, there are plenty of women that would absolutely cause a lot of damage, so we don't obviously want to make that generalization. But my impression was, given Johnny Depp's description, like the one time when he said he was walking towards the bathroom and she was hitting him repeatedly in the head from behind, he didn't indicate that he was falling over or he was blacking out or that he had major bruising or anything. So I suspect that her punching was more unbridled anger and maybe trying to take him out of this world, but I don't think it constitutes beating up. Her allegations sound more like beating up. His allegations sounds like she was trying to beat him up. So I don't know how you gauge that right now. And remember, these are the people saying that they did the study. They're admitting to doing these things, which I also want to emphasize, because the people that I treat, the perpetrators that I treat, they will admit to doing these things. This case makes it seem like perpetrators never admit that they do. They always try to get out of it. They often do, but they often don't. And so all these people just said, yeah, now it's anonymous, right? So anyway, I burned or scalded my partner on purpose. Well, we did hear allegations from Johnny Depp about Amber Heard putting a cigarette out on his face, which I would absolutely call severe physical assault. Okay, so a number of severe physical assaults from both of them, allegations from both doing it to both. All right. Psychological aggression. This might be a little bit more educational because we often don't delineate exactly what this means. So let's talk about minor psychological aggression. I shouted or yelled at my partner. 78% indicated that they had done this. So this includes the entire sample. So it looks like the vast majority, almost all of the participants who claimed, yes, there is violence in my relationship, there is partner aggression, they also say, yeah, I have yelled at my partner. Even if I was the victim, I still yelled and shouted at my partner. Johnny and Amber absolutely did this repeatedly, so it's minor psychological aggression. I stomped out of the room or house or yard during a disagreement. Yes, I don't know if we would characterize Johnny Depp as having stomped. 74% of the sample said they did this, so a lot of people did this, which we could imagine, right? Has Amber Heard stomped out of the room? I don't think so. I don't think she ever left a disagreement. It doesn't fit with the profile, but maybe she did. I insulted or swore at my partner in droves, the two of them, particularly Johnny Depp, honestly. I did something to spite my partner. Oh, by the way, swearing at a partner, 67%. Doing something to spite my partner, 53%. So that would be something like breaking something of theirs to spite them, making a report in the Washington Post to spite them, that kind of thing. Did we see the two of them doing that to each other? Yes. Well, of course, what people in the Johnny Depp team will say is that her filing the restraining order was in spite. And I guess I should clear this up as well, that people will say that Amber Heard was granted her restraining order or no contact order. I'm not sure which one it was. And that's evidence that it was reviewed by a judge and thus bolsters her claim that she was abused. In my book, it doesn't mean much. It could mean something potentially if I saw it specifically, but I'm guessing that it doesn't. Anyway, but was that to spite the partner? We don't know. But I would say that there was a fair amount of spiteful actions towards each other. All right, that was minor psychological aggression. So a lot of minor psychological aggression between the two of them, right? All right, severe psychological aggression. We got, I called my partner fat or ugly. Yes, they both did that, and 42% of this sample did as well. She literally called him fat, and I'm guessing he called her ugly at some point. I destroyed something belonging to my partner. 25% of the sample said, yes, I have done that to my partner. Have they done that? Yeah, there's reports of both of them throwing their possessions out of their homes. So you could consider that destroying, right? I threatened to hit or throw something at I threatened to hit my partner or throw something at my partner. Threatened to hit. So this isn't the actual physical act, but it's the threat, which I guess they're constituting as a psychological aggression, which I guess makes sense. I threatened to hit or threatened to throw something at my partner. I don't know if we heard many indications of threats. It usually was carried out. So I don't know if I remember much about that, but I'm guessing it happened. I seem to remember a moment where there was an allegation or a recording where Johnny Depp said, if you don't stop, I'm going to do blank. So maybe there was. I accused my partner of being a lousy lover. Well, that's interesting. 20% I don't know, psychological. I accused my partner of being a lousy lover. I mean, I guess you'd have to have a qualifier there that says, like, I was trying to hurt their feelings. I wasn't just pointing out that they aren't very good in bed. So I accused my partner of being a lousy lover. Have we heard that from the two of them? I don't know. There were a lot of things being yelled at each other. I just don't remember that. It's possible that it did happen. All right, so let's go to sexual coercion. Again, this could be really triggering for people. Minor. I insisted on sex when my partner did not want to, but did not use physical force on them. So I insisted on sex. So I used I used coercion to make my partner have sex with me when they didn't want to have sex with me, but I didn't hold them down or hit them or use physical force. So this constitutes what they're categorizing as minor. 25% of the respondents said they had done that, and more men than women, but a fair amount of women. The 26% of the men that went to this treatment facility said, yes, I insisted on sex when my partner didn't want to, and 19% of women said that they did the same. I insisted my partner have oral or anal. So let's talk about Johnny and Amber. I insisted on my partner have oral and anal sex, but did not use. So they're, I guess, delineating sex from oral or anal sex. It's kind of weird, but yeah, we did hear allegations, I haven't heard it yet, but I've read about it, that Amber Heard alleges that he forced her to have oral sex, which is upsetting to think about. And 14% of the respondents said that, yes, I have done that. Remember, this is I did these things, not it was done to me. I insisted. And 17% of men respondents and 7% of women insisted that their partner have oral or anal sex, but did not use physical force. I made my partner have sex without a condom. So this is a minor sexual coercion. I think we could come up with other minor sexual coercions, and in terms of the participants, we have 7% total, 3% of the men, 16% of the women said that they did that they made their partner have sex without a condom. Okay, hard to know how to interpret that, but I don't think we heard any talk about forceful sex without a condom between the two of them. Okay, severe sexual coercion. Watch out, these can get a little rough. I used force like hitting, holding down, or using a weapon to make my partner have sex. That's a real common example of a severe sexual coercion. About 2% of the total participants, 1% of the men, and 3% of the women. Makes you wonder if the men were just underreporting on that, but who knows. So I used force like hitting, holding down, or using a weapon to make my partner have sex. So that's upsetting. And did we hear that? I mean, I think, I haven't heard the story from Amber Heard, but it's possible that her allegation does involve the threat of hitting or of holding down. So maybe there. I haven't heard the specifics yet. I used force like hitting, holding down, or using a weapon to make my partner have oral or anal sex. I used threats to make my partner have oral or anal sex. I used threats to make my partner have sex. Okay. And we did hear that there was that involved, allegations from Amber that Johnny Depp had done that. I don't think Johnny Depp has claimed that she did any sexual coercion of any kind to him. All right. They also talk about injuries, minor injuries and severe injuries. And again, they're talking to the perpetrator. My partner had a sprain, bruise, or small cut because of a fight with me. 17% of the sample said, yes, my partner had a sprain or bruise or small cut because of a fight with me. And we would say, yes, the two of them both showed signs of that, pictures of that. My partner still felt physical pain the next day because of a fight we had. 10% of the participants endorsed that one, and both of them, I'm guessing, would say yes. I felt pain the next day because of some, especially Johnny Depp and his finger, right? Severe injuries. My partner went to a doctor because of a fight with me. 5% of the participants said yes to that. Certainly Johnny Depp went to the doctor because of a fight with Amber, and Amber, did she go to the doctor? I think she did. My partner needed to see a doctor because of a fight with me, but did not. 5% said yes to that. I'm guessing that Amber Heard would say yes to that one. I'm guessing that Johnny Depp would as well. My partner had a broken bone from a fight with me. Johnny Depp did. Broken nose, would that constitute a broken bone, at least in that category? So it sounds like they both have allegations in that zone as well. So let's review. Lots of minor physical assault alleged going both ways. Lots of severe physical assault going both ways. Lots of minor psychological aggression going both ways, meaning a lot minor psychological aggression. Severe psychological aggression, a lot going both ways. Minor sexual coercion. There was one incident, well, I guess you could say two, when he was psychotic, seemingly. I don't know if he was psychotic. It sounded like a psychotic episode from cocaine. And he cavity searched her for drugs, if you included that, which you could. And the other allegation that I think is coming, where she talks about a bottle, I believe, that is severe sexual coercion and assault from him to her. But I don't think we've heard any allegations from her to him. I guess you could say, in terms of tallying the allegations, lots of minor physical and psychological aggression going both ways, allegations. The physical assaults, I guess, could be balanced out by the fact that he might have done more damage when he was physical with her. But then, of course, losing the finger, I think, really just, it's hard to know what would be a second to that event. But you can make a call on that. Severe psychological aggression, they both did that. To summarize the tally sheet, so to speak, lots of violence, lots of aggression, much more sexual or only sexual aggression seemingly coming from Johnny Depp to Amber Heard, allegedly, and more severe physical aggression going from Amber to Johnny. But in terms of psychological aggression, they seem equal in that, in terms of my take on things. In terms of injuries, they both had a lot of injuries that required medical attention, particularly Johnny Depp. So, we're looking at a pretty severe case in terms of what this research looks at. Now, I'm sure there are other measures, and I know there are other measures that will actually develop these indices, but I just thought it'd be interesting to look at least this study, because it was looking specifically at bidirectional intimate partner violence. Okay, so check in with yourself, relax your neck muscles, do it with me, okay? Take some deep breaths. How you doing? How you feeling? A lot of tough stuff, hard to hear, hard to think about, and some of you may have been through this before, so even as a perpetrator, it can be hard to remember those memories. And we can just, I don't want this to traumatize anyone or to put anybody in a bad place. All right. So what can we conclude from all this? Well, when I think about all the allegations, if we just think about the allegations itself, and I guess what I believe happened, it's severe. Not as severe as other cases that I've worked with, but, on the severe end of things for sure. I don't know what percentile I would put them at in terms of, and I'm not taking all the allegations as truth. I am making a guess as to what really happened between the two of them, as I've mentioned before. But when we review it all at once in lieu of this study, it's pretty severe. It's pretty awful. Pretty awful to think about. And the pattern, right, that so many people will talk about experiencing the same thing, from calling someone fat or ugly. I mean, that's interesting. There was a very specific item on this questionnaire, and we heard both of them insulting each other in that way. And I guess it is one of those things that if you're in a relationship, you want to watch out for, because usually those insults, the minor, let's look at that again, because maybe that will help people I guess you could look at the minor items as a precursor to the major ones, right? So if we look at the minor physical assault items, and just keep in mind, this usually is the slippery slope that results in severe assault: pushing, shoving, grabbing, slapping, throwing something that isn't going to kill someone, or twisting the partner's arm, or pulling their hair, twisting their hair. So these are minor events that are often a precursor to more severe events. And I've been down this road before, personally and professionally, that in the beginning of a relationship, there will be a big conflict, and one person will shove the other person or grab the person. The person's just saying, "Oh, screw you," and they're walking away, and someone grabs someone. If you were accustomed to that, particularly from your childhood, you might not even register that as minor physical assault. You just be like, well, he didn't want me to leave, so he grabbed me. Yeah. But when we look at in this light, especially in light of their relationship, then we can see it for what it is, which is a physical assault. It's assaultive. And no, people out there, don't do that. You can use your words. Please don't go. Plus, people can go if they want to. You can always talk to them later. It's not usually an emergency that you have to talk to them right then. So don't do stuff like that. Don't push, don't shove, don't grab. Obviously, don't slap, don't throw things, don't twist people's arms, because that's abusive, and it could even be criminal. A minor psychological aggression: shouting, yelling, stomping out of the room, or slamming a door, or swearing, insulting, doing something to spite your partner. These are all minor psychological aggressions. The spite one is kind of hard, or the stomping out of a room is kind of hard, because I could see behaviors along those lines that could be categorized as such that I wouldn't interpret as a precursor to other psychological aggressions. But it's just something to watch out for, right? And what constitutes shouting or yelling? A lot of couples shout and yell at each other that don't, so I guess with the minor psychological aggression, it's, if someone grabs someone or push someone, I would be very worried about it progressing to other kinds. I would be worried about that in and of itself. But if I heard about shouting or yelling at each other, or someone stomping out of a room, or swearing at a partner, I would be like, well, maybe, for sure, but I wouldn't be as worried. Doing something to spite your partner. Well, those of you who watch 90 Day Fiancé with me, on Fisa and George, I don't know if I've posted this video yet, but she does key his car. And when I saw that, I was astonished. That would be doing something to spite your partner. It's a minor psychological aggression. That behavior, when she keyed his car, so what did she write? Something like, I can't remember, something idiot, I think what it was. And it's like, whoa, if you're capable of that, God knows what you're capable of. In fact, the Anfisa person on the reality TV show 90 Day Fiancé has a lot of the same signs as what is being alleged of Amber Heard. I don't know if any of that is accurate, but okay. So other kinds of things to watch out for. Now, severe psychological aggression, we might also want to delineate as well, because they're psychological in nature, a lot of people even don't recognize them as abusive. But these are severe psychological acts. I called my partner fat or ugly. I destroyed something belonging to my partner, breaking their favorite vase or harming their car. I threaten to hit or throw something. So a threat, if you don't watch out, I'm going to get you. I mean, that's pretty obviously abusive. I accuse my partner of being a lousy lover. I don't know about that one. I need to know more about that item. I mean, I could absolutely see how that would be insulting and a severe psychological aggression, but I don't know. It's not something that really resonates with me. And then minor sexual coercion. I insisted on sex, insisting even when the person knows the other person doesn't want to do it. That is wrong. That's wrong, and it's a sexual coercion. It's not okay. We're getting into sexual coercion because why would someone want to do that to you? Why would someone want to force you to have sex when you didn't want to? Why would they do that? Me and Umberto have talked about this in the podcast before. In what world would that turn someone on to have sex with someone who really doesn't want to have sex with them in the moment? That would be impossible for a lot of people to do. It's just like, well, yeah, I mean, I want to have sex, but I don't want to have sex like that. That's awful. I want someone who at least, mostly wants to, is in the mood for it. Not like completely not. That's terrible. You couldn't even make me have sex with someone that didn't want to have sex with me. So that's important to be able to know, because a lot of people, particularly women out there, believe that that's their duty. Is like, well, sometimes you just no, you do not have to. Sometimes you never have to ever. You can, if you don't want to. That is the line. And even if you're quote unquote wrong for not wanting it, because there's these accusations like real relationships you're supposed to have sex X amount of times per week or month or something, and even if you believe that, which isn't true, that doesn't mean that you're supposed to do it. Even if you're the weirdest human on the planet that has sex the least amount of times, that gives no one the right to force you to have sex with them. So we can look at these indications as where, according to these researchers and me and everyone else in my field, that this is abuse. Because if you were abused in your childhood, you might not even know that these things are abusive, either as a victim or a perpetrator. So if you're a victim or a perpetrator of these acts, know that these are abusive things and are harmful to you and other people. It doesn't solve anything to do these sorts of things to people, okay? And you're trying to connect or convince or make your argument to someone or whatever, or retain the closeness or defend yourself, whatever. But these behaviors are just not okay. All right, again, conclusion, I think my conceptualization of what really happened between the two of them indicates a lot of severity in terms of the physical, psychological. The sexual coercion, I don't know. I mean, that allegation, it's hard to verify, as I was saying earlier. So it could have happened for sure. I mean, certainly I could absolutely see the cavity search happening, but at the very least, there's a ton of evidence of severe physical and severe psychological aggression going both ways. So I think we can say that with some confidence, but everyone sees it differently, apparently. A lot of people see it differently. Anyway, all right, well, tough episode. That does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.